Heroes are an inspiring group of people. Every one of them, from the larger-than-life comic book heroes you see on the big silver screen to the everyday heroes that let us live the privileged lives we do. Every hero has a story to tell. The doctor saving lives at your local hospital, the war veteran down the street who risked his lives for our freedom, the police officers and firefighters who risk their safety to ensure ours. Every hero is special and every story worth telling, but there is one class of heroes that I think is often ignored. The entrepreneur, the creator, the producer, the ones who look at the problems in this world and think to themselves, you know what? I can fix that. I can help people, and I can make a difference. Then they go out and do exactly that by creating a new product or introducing a new service. Some go on to change the world, others make a world of difference to their customers. Welcome to The Hero Show. Join us as we pull back the masks of the world's finest heropreneurs and learn the secrets to their powers, their success, and their influence, so you can use those secrets to attract more sales, make more money, and experience more freedom in your business. I'm your host, Richard Matthews, and we are on in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to The Hero Show. My name is Richard Matthews. I'm here today with Dustin Lien. Dustin, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. So Dustin does a number of things. We were chatting a little bit before we got online. He's got a podcast that specializes in personal development for entrepreneurs. What's the name of that podcast, Dustin?
It's called Unleashed with Dustin Lien.
Unleashed. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that. You also run a marketing agency called Jump Influence. It focuses on the e-commerce space. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that today. And you also mentioned you got a supplement company that you just got off the ground. So lots of cool stuff that you're doing. Also, you said you preach on the weekends, which is cool. We share that in common as well. I went to a Bible college, and I think that probably informs a lot of our marketing and other things that we do. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So my first question for you, Dustin, as you know, this show is called The Hero Show, and we look at entrepreneurs in the light of being modern day heroes, and we're looking to sort of pull back the mask and take a look at your story, sort of your origin story. So what I want to do is start off with what you're known for today, right? So if someone is thinking of Dustin Lien, what is it that you're known for that other people seek you out to help them solve their problems? What do they come to Dustin for?
Yeah, I would say the people that know me most likely know me for my work in the marketing world. As you mentioned, I own a marketing agency called Jump Influence, and we do e-commerce marketing primarily in the health and fitness space. And kind of before turning that into an agency, I was doing more independent consulting. I was doing that for a couple of years for pretty big social media influencers in the fitness space. So I was helping them to take their giant audiences and kind of figure out how do they build a real business out of that, as opposed to just having people that follow them on Instagram or YouTube or wherever. And how do they take that audience and create a service or a product that they can monetize and build a business out of? So that's probably where most people would know me from, is that kind of that phase. And then about midway through 2018 last year, I pivoted into an actual agency, and now we've got a little team of 4 people right now.
Yeah, so and you're still doing the same kind of thing where you're helping influencers either build products or sell products online, and you're helping them do I assume sort of like the whole kit and caboodle, right? Development, and sales, and marketing for their products.
Yeah. So we have kind of 2 arms of the business right now. One arm is more for influencers that are getting their products off the ground. And then the other arm is for health and fitness consumer products that are already established, funded, like VC funded startups or companies that are already, pushing the 7-figure mark.
Yeah.
And we'll work on building out their, we'll do the email marketing, SEO, social media, advertising, all that kind of stuff. We kind of help them structure and build out their marketing strategy, and then we help them execute it. Almost like the role of a CMO would be.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, do you guys have any of your own products, or are they all products from clients?
You mean like internal products that we launched?
Yeah, like you've launched yourselves.
No, not right now. We have there's some like courses and stuff we've done in the past, but as far as like physical products or anything like that, we're 100% focused on clients.
That makes sense. Cool. Okay, so that's what you're doing now. Mike, the next thing is basically we want to go back to the beginning, your origin story, right? And I say every hero has one, and it's where you started to realize that maybe you were different, that maybe you had what we call superpowers, right? Maybe you could use them to help other people, where you started to develop or discover the value you can bring to the world. Sort of take us back to the beginning and how you sort of got into this entrepreneur journey.
Oh boy, let's see. My story is very non-linear, which probably most people's story is, I would imagine. But for me, the entrepreneurial thing started probably in 2011, 2012, right when I was graduating college. I graduated in 2011, and I remember having this moment of like I was standing in a DC Shoes because I was a supervisor at a DC Shoes during college, and I remember standing in there, and it just kind of hit me that I was graduating in a couple of months, and I had to like actually go do stuff. Like I had to go get a job, and I had to go work for people and like try hard and stuff. But just I'm not against hard work, obviously, but the just the it all hit me like school is pretty easy if you care minimally about the outcome of school, other than the degree.
It's like there's a lot of safety net there. You don't have to really worry too much.
Yeah, and it's funny how people don't really have that much expectation of you when you're in school. It's like oh, he's in school or she's in school, and that's just it. So you can kind of do whatever you want as long as you're in school. But then all the expectations start flooding in right when you graduate. It's like you get bombarded with the questions of like, oh, are you applying for jobs? What career are you going into? What are you going to do? Are you getting hired? Just all these things. And so I had this moment of like, oh crap, like this is.
And if your parents are anything like mine, it's like when you're getting married and having kids and starting a family and buying a house and like all the other things that go along with it. You're an adult now,
like 22, like boom, that's it. Like now you're just like this path you're supposed to follow. And so I started realizing that entrepreneurship might be more what I'm built for. And so a couple of buddies of mine met up at like a dive bar after work one day, and we just sat down and started talking like, what can we do? What can we build together? And we started this t-shirt company where we made 0 t-shirts and sold 0 t-shirts.
Oh, that's a successful company right there.
Right? Yep. we fell in the trap of the fun of building something creatively but we forgot about the execution part.
And we forgot to actually like deliver product.
It's like it's the biggest trap for new entrepreneurs is getting excited about the logo, the website, for us the t-shirt designs, the excitement of meeting together and talking about our dreams. But we did so much of that we burned ourselves out and forgot to execute, and it killed it. And that was kind of my first business failure. Was right out of college, trying to do this thing I had big hopes for, but realized that I wasn't ready for the actual work it takes to build a company. And from there, one of the guys that was in that trio with me, we kind of branched off and started doing some freelance work for clients because I was a graphic designer and he was a marketer. And so we kind of just started taking it slow. I ended up taking a job in marketing at this magazine company for about a little over a year. And I used that as time to just hone my skills more, actually learn how a company runs. And then on the side, on nights and weekends, my friend and I we had this kind of little freelance agency going where we started helping out some family friends and kind of anyone we could get our hands on to help with graphic design and marketing. That was kind of the origin of that. It so just scrapes the surface of the journey because that company ended up failing too, but that's kind of how it all got started for me.
Yeah, so it was like a series of experiments and like learning what to do. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned before we got on the line that we have some parallels. It's kind of the way my stuff went. Like I got started in college with a network marketing company, and you realize, we sold a whole bunch of stuff through the network marketing company, built a big team, and then realize that like, your entire success is dependent on someone else's effort, and you're not in control of your own destiny, and like, lost all of that because other people didn't want to do the work for it, which I realized was a bad idea. So I started my own consulting firm using all the stuff that we had done. Yeah. And mine wasn't a execution problem. Mine was a confidence problem where I wasn't asking enough money for the services I was providing, and thus couldn't both afford to service clients and market for new ones. So I starved myself. And ended up having to, I actually took a job at one point. It's a fun story we could get into later at some point, but took a job, got a C-level marketing position, and got to control a $100,000 a month marketing budget and 10x the company over a couple of years. And gave myself the confidence I needed to go back out there and actually like crush it for people. But yeah, it's interesting because you're like, I'm ready to be an entrepreneur, and you go out and you dive in, and like, it's like you're throwing yourself in the deep end, and then you're like, oh crap, I forgot to learn how to swim first.
Exactly. That's exactly it. There's like, I think there are some people who are purebred entrepreneurs and can just have it in their blood. I don't think that's me. I think I loved the idea of entrepreneurship, but I jumped in before learning the skills I needed to actually succeed, or even networking enough to succeed was a big one for me.
Yeah, and then you sort of have to learn those skills as you go, and you just sort of have to accept the failures as you move along. I think one of the things that sets people who are successful as entrepreneurs apart, though, is that ability to realize that, hey, we're failing here, learn something from it, get up and move on.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of like starting a business is very emotional, as you know. It's you have a lot emotionally riding on it, especially when you're at a job you don't want to be at, or you're doing something you don't want to be doing. You put so much pressure on your entrepreneurial endeavor making it, because you're like, people are trying to make sure that they can pull themselves out of something they hate. So they're almost using, at least that's what I did. I was using my entrepreneurial future as a way to save me from doing jobs I didn't like. Mm-hmm. But I actually think that's the wrong way to look at it. And I think it was detrimental for me. I think if your biggest reason for starting a business is to stop doing something you're currently doing, like a job, there's also other options, like go get a different job you like more.
Yeah.
Which I think is
which is less work.
It really is. It's like, I'm not sure I would have gone the same path had I known. I think I would still be an entrepreneur, but I don't know if I would have gone the same path if I had known how much work it was going to take to actually get the current off the ground.
And hindsight's 2020. Looking back on it, my reason was because I wanted to hit a certain income level by the time I was 30. I missed it by 3 years, but I did hit it at like 33, which is great. But that was the reason I was building a business. And I realized along the way that was the wrong reason to build a business. The real reason to build a business is because you have found or have developed a solution to a problem for people, and you want to actually help those people solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And the money is a result of that. It's not the thing that you're building. And the reason I missed my date was because I didn't get that piece. Right? Because I was building it for the wrong reasons. And once you sort of flip that switch, it's amazing how quickly you go from like now I'm actually building a business the right way and for the right reasons. So it's super cool.
That's the difference between selfless ambition for other people and selfish ambition. I think selfish ambition almost always loses. Because you're not thinking about the people you're helping, you're thinking about how you can get more for yourself. And so you start making decisions based on how you can take more instead of how you can give more. And it flips the trajectory of how much money you're actually bringing in, because the more people you help, the more money you bring in.
Yeah. And you can, like one of the goals in my life was to have more time freedom. And you realize when you're like building the business that if you make the decisions on how can I serve these people at a higher level, one of the things that you have to do is pull yourself out of the processes. And so the end result of that is you end up having more time to put towards other things.
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like when you actually change it from like, I'm trying to not do as much work to I need to do the work the right way so that I'm, that I get, the better results come when you think about the person you're serving. So it's a really powerful lesson that I hope people can pick up from this. So next question, from your origin story is your superpower, right? If you had to narrow down, right, what is it that you do or build or offer this world that helps solve problems for other people? It's the things that you do or things that you use to help slay your clients' villains, so to speak.
I think the biggest one for me is probably empathy. At Jump Influence, like we help consumer brands, and if I oversimplify it, it seems like any marketing agency is literally just doing client work, right? You're just doing work other people don't know how to do or don't want to do.
Yeah, right. They don't have time to do it. They want to hire someone else to do that.
Right. So it's kind of like the baseline of like what it is. But when I think about why I started, why I work with the type of clients I work with and why I started the type of agency I did, really what I believe in is helping people scale their mission. So helping other business owners or people who work in those businesses and believe in those missions. I want to believe in that mission as strongly as they do so that I can help them scale.
That's really cool.
Like we live in an era right now where like internet is literally fully up and running, or I guess here in America at least. But that it gives us such an incredible opportunity to create unique careers and businesses that we find actual purpose in and that we can help other people with. And it's an amazing gift. And something I've been getting pretty good at is, I think it's a natural thing for me, but I've been working on it as well, is just trying to understand where other people are coming from and attempting to feel what they feel. And as an agency owner, I want to tap into that empathy and really feel what that company's mission is so that I can embody it while working on their marketing strategy and actually help them fulfill their mission. And that gives me a lot of purpose. So I think empathy is really superpower.
That's really cool. It's actually, a common theme here in our discussion. My agency where we work with expert brands, it's the reason I do it is actually the same thing, right? The words I use are it's my ripple effect, right? Yeah. Where I have a large amount of influential leverage because I have a handful of clients, and my handful of clients reach thousands upon thousands with their message to improve their lives and stuff like that. And one of the things that, like, as I've gotten better and bigger and stronger in my space, I get to be more choosy with my clients. Mm-hmm. And one of my I don't know, the canons, right? The things that I measure my clients by, whether or not I'll say yes to them, is if I believe in what they're teaching, what they're doing. Anyways, that's it's a cool thing.
Like I think it's so important to as marketers to pay attention to the type of work we're doing, because marketing is a weapon and it can be used for good or bad. There's a lot of companies that make a lot of money with zero integrity. They're hurting people. They're scamming people. Their products are, the claims they make are false and fake. They didn't do enough due diligence with something to see if it was actually working or not. I mean, we see these stories all the time of people getting scammed and businesses that are claiming to be real that aren't and taking people's money. There's all kinds of stuff, and as marketers, we can really mess up a lot of people's day-to-day lives if we're not careful who we're helping scale.
Yeah, and what I tell all of my clients, I tell this to my children regularly too, is that persuasion is a neutral tool, and when you use persuasion for the benefit of the other person, we call that leadership, and when you use it for the benefit of yourself, we call that manipulation.
That's really good.
Yeah, so that's my my rule of thumb, and marketing is just another name for persuasion, right? We're using different mediums to affect persuasion in people's lives, and Yeah, and it's such a powerful thing that we have to think about. And to our earlier point, when you're building a business that's focused on the end consumer, you have to make sure that the thing that you're actually selling and delivering to them is as valuable as the message and the marketing that you're using to deliver it with.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, cool. So, other side of your superpower. This is one of my favorite questions: is your fatal flaw, right? So, Superman has his kryptonite. Batman's not actually super, right? If you could narrow down, what would you say you have is your fatal flaw? And more importantly, what have you done over the course of your entrepreneurial career to help sort of correct that or work with it?
That's a good question. I think my kryptonite is probably my overactive brain. And that's not a humble brag. I'm not saying I'm so smart. What I mean is that very often I find myself becoming anxious about things in the future I'm thinking about, or getting distracted by trying to solve problems that aren't even problems yet. But I can get pulled off course really easily if I'm not careful. And
so, what do you do to help? What do you do to help sort of mitigate that? Because I know that's actually a pretty common problem. I've talked to a number of people who talk, and I actually deal with that myself too. Where it's like you're thinking about something and you're like, oh man, I need to do this, that, and the other thing, and you start making lists and plans, and then you're like, wait a second, it's not even a thing yet. I still need to deliver over here.
Right. Yeah. There's so much we'll get trapped in like trying to be too proactive about things that aren't even happening. I think honestly, it's a big reason why I launched my new supplement company earlier this year. Because we're creating, I know we were talking beforehand, like we're creating supplements to help people who consider themselves high performers. And so really to solve my own problem, I created a product called Deep Breath. And it's a supplement that supports anxiety and stress. Thank you. It took me a little while to get there. Had some really bad names in the beginning. But it helps. It supports anxiety, stress, mental energy, and like short-term focus. So I literally just solved my problem with it by creating another product. But I've seen dramatic improvements already in just daily performance by kind of corralling my brain and being able to eliminate a lot of the distraction. But like, even beyond supplements, like just, I struggle with it daily still, but a lot of it for me is trying to be more organized and just be disciplined with myself. Like, when I make my calendar for the day, I do my best to make sure that if I blocked something out, I do it when I said I was going to do it, instead of shuffling my to-dos all day long. Based on how I'm feeling and what my emotions are. So our emotions will lead us astray real quick. Discipline will not fail you. You just have to remain disciplined. So that's been a big thing for me. I'm not naturally organized at all. So just trying to get more organized and then stay disciplined to the organization.
Yeah, so two things that I wanted to bring up. One of them, because one of our other podcast guests mentioned something similar. And her solution to it I thought was really cool. You might benefit from it. And she calls it, she gives herself what she calls a creative space. Mm-hmm. And, you talked about blocking time in your calendar, and she'll actually take a 2-hour chunk of her day a couple of times a week, where what she's doing is she just lets her brain run on those things and writes and takes notes and fills them all up and just gets basically brain dumps all that stuff out. Because once you've taken it out and put it somewhere, then it's not running around in your head distracting you anymore. And yeah, so and she says a number of things for it. One, it takes it out of your head, but two, it also some of her best creative ideas have come out of those times. So you don't necessarily want to cut off that sort of natural instinct as an entrepreneur to think and plan and look at the future and all sorts of things that are not happening yet. So give yourself permission to do that, but restrict it to a certain time and space that's designed for it.
I love that. I love that. That's
yeah. So I started doing that myself. I've got a tablet now and a drawing pad. I'm taking notes and doing things on it. Just take myself out of my work environment and take some notes on it, and just let my brain dump a little bit. And that's been helping with my own thing on that. The other thing I wanted to mention was I know for another way that this sort of like flaw shows up in entrepreneurs, because I've discussed it a lot with a lot of people, is the idea that when you bring a product to market, there's going to be people who don't like it or who it doesn't fit for, right? They're like, and like, it's that whole like, I don't know what you call it, that vacillation that people have, like, I'm going to put this out on the market, but like, people aren't going to like that I said this, or they're not going to, a certain segment of the market is not going to, jive with it. Or, what about the, we release the supplement for moms? What about all the moms that don't like supplements? And one of the things that I've done a lot of coaching on this is like, you have to realize that like the people who don't like it and don't like your thing, and like, they're not your market. So you just need to like take it out of your head and don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And really it's cool. Like, it's that same type of like thought where you're vacillating and worrying about things that aren't actually problems, right? It's not a problem that there's a whole bunch of people in the market that don't like your product, right? That's what your competitors are for.
Yeah, I would argue like if there aren't a lot of people who specifically don't like it, then you're not doing a good enough job finding your target market, or like marketing to your actual target, because we should have a pretty natural like it should be such a strong marketing push that the core people you're trying to reach love it and everyone else doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like
and there's like maybe a fringe on the side that hates you for having it, like having developed it.
Yeah. You need to have some haters or you're not trying hard enough.
You're not trying hard enough. You don't have haters. Anyways, I think that's a good discussion, and hopefully helps some people on, who struggle with the same thing daily. So next question is your common enemy, right? So every hero has a common enemy. And the way I like to phrase this for my clients, or the people I bring on the podcast here, is if you could work with all of your clients, and when you first met them, just go in and remove one thing from their life, from their mindset, from their thinking, that is holding them back. That's sort of their enemy that you see all the time. What would that be, and how would you remove it? What would you change, I guess, about it?
It would definitely be creative perfection. And what I mean by that is being so caught up in unimportant details of things being creatively perfect or coming together so fluidly and perfectly before launching or even during launch of a product. I think speed of implementation is really underrated. And to me, that's the most important thing about getting a company off the ground or growing revenue of an existing company, is recognizing that speed will trump perfection every time. Because when you execute quickly, you can learn a lot faster what's working and what's not working. And I think people get in a fear-based mindset, thinking that if they launch something that's not perfect already, that people are going to associate them with imperfection all the time, or that like, each consumer will give you one shot and one shot only, which I don't think is true. So I think if I could remove anything, it would be the need for things to be perfect. Because that's also subjective. What you think is perfect, someone else might really hate. So just getting things on the market and iterating using actual data of what people are saying in the market, as opposed to what you think they're going to say or what you think is correct, would solve a lot of people's revenue problems.
Yeah, I'm like, I see that all the time, from all sorts of different things where perfection will get in the way of getting things done. And it's a problem I've struggled with for a number of years. Like, I'll spend 4 hours trying to get one pixel into the right spot and then realize that it's not important. You're like, damn it, I just wasted 4 hours doing that. Like, that's small scale stuff. But at the same time, like, I've had we got our supplement line launched, and the first 1,000 products had the wrong damn phone number on it. Right. And it's like, but like, it doesn't really affect anything. Like, we just changed it on the next label, got the order out. Like, we don't let perfection get in the way of delivery. And I know, like, one of the things that happens all the time is like, we can't send out the email until like 14 people have grammar checked it, and it takes 2 weeks to get it checked.
That one gets
like all the time. And I'm like, if you have a grammar mistake, send it another email that apologizes for it and make another offer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Get extra sales by having a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. And the clients I have that get that make more money. Mm-hmm. Right. and they're like, but like, I just can't have the market think that I'm the kind of person who would put out an email that has a grammar mistake in it. Like, I can't have that. And I'm like, your audience doesn't care. Like, you're not solving a grammar problem for them. Like, that's not what you sell, right? Anyways, that kind of, I totally get the creative perfection thing. And if you have a solution to it, I'm totally open to hearing it, because we deal with it all the time.
I think the only solution is forcing yourself to not do it. Or even, this might be a fun game, make a mistake on purpose and see if anyone calls you out on it or not.
Yeah. So I have done a number of things in my own business that were horribly wrong and have not ever even been noticed for, unless I apologize for them. So, like, a lot of the things you think are problems really aren't, which is interesting. And like, this, not the same vein, but a similar idea. Like, I once, I was under the impression that people didn't care about what you wore, and I didn't like having a humongous wardrobe, right? I had, like, at one point I had like 65 t-shirts and like 35 pair of pants, because I was the same size from like 16 to 30. I never changed, right? So every pair of clothes I ever bought, they still fit. And it bothered me that I had so many clothes and had spent so much time doing laundry and all that stuff. And I had I sat down once and I just pared my stuff down to like 7 shirts and 7 pairs of pants, and I performed a social experiment on all of my people I was working with at that time, including family members. And every time I saw that person, I wore the same outfit, right? And for months at a time. And in 6 months, working with hundreds of people, I was working at a big company at the time. I had one person notice. It was my stepdad. And my stepdad was like, because we had a Wednesday night dinner at his at my mom's house every week. And he's like, I haven't seen you wear a different shirt in like 6 months. He's like, do you own another shirt? And I was like, actually, let me tell you about the experiment I've been running. You're the first person in 6 months to even notice. And like, so that's not really a mistake thing, but it's the idea of like, people aren't paying attention to you. They're paying attention to themselves and their own problems, their own things. And the reason they're buying from you is because you're helping them solve a problem in their life. And if your message, regardless of its imperfections, helps them solve that problem, that's all they care about.
Yep. That's exactly right. That's funny. Yeah. I love that experiment.
You should totally try it. But to that point, now I have like 3 button-up shirts, 4 t-shirts, 2 pairs of pants and 2 pairs of shorts, and that's it. Like, it's my entire wardrobe. It fits in a backpack. I can travel the world in a backpack.
That's awesome.
And I've been that way for years, and nobody cares, right? So,
it makes your life so much easier.
Yeah, it makes my life easier, right? I mean, that's not really an entrepreneurial thing, but it's just, it's more of a minimalist thing. But it's anyways, it's a cool point to point out that people don't really care about you or your problems or your things. They care about themselves. They are the hero in their own story, and your job as a marketer and as a product developer is to be their Obi-Wan, to be their, the one who's coming alongside them and helping them on their journey, right? They're the hero in their story, and you're the person who's helping them. And if you approach your business that way, you'll have a much better results.
Yep. Shine the light on them.
Absolutely. Okay, so other side of the common enemy is your driving force, right? So Spider-Man fights to save New York, Batman fights to save Gotham, Google fights to index all the world's information. What is your mission? And tell us a little bit about it.
I think kind of a life mission of mine, and I try to weave this in with my businesses too, is to help people live unleashed. Hence the name of my podcast.
Yeah, that's a good name too. You got a trend going here of good names for your stuff.
I appreciate it. I spend almost no time thinking about them. But I just think so many of us are bound by jobs or careers we know aren't serving us. We're chained to poor health, harmful relationships we just can't break free from. A lot of us know there's so much more to life that we could be experiencing, but we haven't sorted through all the stuff going on in our heads, our mindset to release ourselves into those adventures that await. And so for me, the word unleashed is kind of solving a few problems. One is do work you love and find deep purpose in. I think we all have the opportunity to do that. And whether it's entrepreneurial or not, you can find work you love to do, or at least you can love the work that you do. And what I mean by that difference is, even if you're not loving the actual work, you can find ways to love it, whether it's loving the people you work with, loving the mission you're standing behind, even if you're not doing the exact job function you want to be doing yet. There's ways to find love in the work that we do. So that's one thing for me that's big, is loving the work that you do. Go ahead.
I just want to say something about that real quick. One of the things I've found that's been really helpful for just my own thinking on it, but also when I talk to clients and everything, is the idea that passion is not generally a thing that you have to strive to find. Passion is something that develops as you master things.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So when you're looking at the work that you're doing, to your point, you can develop passion for the work you're doing by mastering the work that you're doing. Because I think mastery begets passion.
I 100% agree. What's the book? It's I think Cal Newport book. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
It's not Deep Work. That's a great book too. I can't remember it. It's bothering me now. But anyone who's listening, just go look up Cal Newport. He's got a great book on the subject of what comes first, passion or expertise. And that one really kind of figured that lesson out.
That's cool. I didn't know there was a book on it. I'll have to read it.
Yeah.
So what was the other part of your thing before I interrupted you?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So there's that, and then also is your health, taking care of your health, and being proactive about taking care of your health. So for me, that can mean your mental health, if you're dealing with depression or anxiety, or just being overly stressed or overwhelmed all the time, like things that need to be taken care of in order for you to be unchained from those things. And that makes a big impact on business and also just life happiness in general. And then it can also mean physical health. I'm a big advocate of just daily movement. You don't have to be a bodybuilder, or you don't have to go run marathons, but do something multiple times a week that gets your heart rate elevated for at least 20 to 30 minutes. And it makes a big difference on just hormonal release. Neurologically, it makes a big difference on how we think and how creatively we think. And it's a good chance to kind of renew your body. Like Tony Robbins talks about it a lot, about changing your state. So changing your state in order to change your mindset. And so a lot of things start with the way that our body is activated. So that's a big one for me too.
Yeah. One of the things that, shameless plug here, our supplement company, the pastor that's behind it, he talks about having you don't have to get into, like a major workout system. He's like, what he recommends for people to do is have like an exercise hobby, right? Something that you enjoy doing that's fun to do. Maybe it's rock climbing at the rock climbing gym. Maybe it's tennis. Maybe it's, whatever it is. Maybe it's riding bikes with your kids. It doesn't have to be I spend 45 minutes from 5 a.m. to 5:45 a.m. in the gym lifting weights every day. Like, some people like that, but if that's not you, it doesn't matter. Like, what matters more is the activity, like actually doing something. So find a hobby, an active hobby that you can partake in and enjoy on a regular basis.
Yep, 100%. And it's interesting too that you talk about like hobbies, because I think a lot more research is coming out now about the discipline of being like living an active lifestyle. It's actually easier for people to remain in an active lifestyle if they are enjoying the activity, as opposed to just being hyper disciplined and going to the gym. Because of course discipline's important, but you don't have to be that disciplined when you love doing it. So if you love playing tennis and you can go do that once or twice a week, you're not going to have to be that disciplined because you want to go do it. So finding something that you enjoy that helps you be active is a more sustainable way to live healthier.
What's your athletic hobby?
What's that?
I said, what's your athletic hobby?
Athletic hobby. Mine would be basketball.
Yeah,
And then I actually do like lifting weights too. I've been doing those in high school. So
mine's hiking
I
and kayaking.
hiking's good. Kayaking I've done a handful of times. I don't. Well, actually, I was about to say I don't live by water. Yes, I do. I live
You live in LA. Like, come on.
a
You got the
giant
Pacific
body of
Ocean.
water. But it's a lot harder to go kayaking in the ocean than it is like a marina or a lake or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
true.
kayaking. But I also live right next to, because I live in Hollywood, I'm right next to Runyon Canyon, which is a really popular hiking path. So I'll do that once in a while too. Like,
Yeah. I said, I mentioned earlier, my family and I, we travel the country in an RV, and whenever we get a chance, we like to go hike the places that we're going to look at. And like, we were at this sandcastle competition this week, and we walked ourselves to the point where our feet don't like. I don't want to walk for the next couple of days because my feet are all sore. But yeah, so we do a lot of hiking where it's not like we're not actually hiking, if that makes sense. Like, we didn't go out today, but like what I'm doing is I'm hiking. Like, there's things that you're doing that you're involved in, but you'll get 2, 3, 4 miles of of stuff going a day, and
yeah.
it's just part of life, which I think makes for having an active lifestyle and keeping your mind sort of fresh when you get back to work a lot easier.
Yep, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's RV life. That's
super cool. So we'll be in LA in a couple of like a month and a half. Left to stop by and say hi, have coffee or something.
Yeah, please let me know.
So next question is your hero's tool belt, right? Maybe you have a big magical hammer like Thor, or a bulletproof vest like our neighborhood police officer, or maybe you just really love how Evernote helps you organize your thoughts, or how you build killer slides in Keynote or something. Do you have any particular tools, be them digital tools or physical tools, that you use to make the work you do more effortless?
Yes. That's a great question. One for me is Todoist. It's a project management tool. It's very simple though. I've used a handful of different project management tools just for to keep track of tasks and stuff with the team, and personally. But Todoist for me has been big because I just like things simple, and it doesn't really have a lot of bells and whistles, which I actually like. It forces me to simplify my process. So that's been a big one for me. Google Docs, that's probably a really common one, but I think it's worth because it's so like largely used that people almost write it off as a given. But that just attests to the fact that it's a great tool.
It's so potent too. Like, we do crazy stuff with Google Docs, like crazy stuff with it, where it's like we have, we'll create a shared client folder, and when the client will create a video, and we tell them to, drop into the shared video, and we can build automated processes that like look for new files and create tasks in our task management system and automatically assign them out to individuals or other machines. And like Google Docs or Google Drive is like the backbone of like robots that make our services happen. So
it's amazing.
It's like, yeah, like people write it off, but it's like, I don't know what I would do in my business without it.
Yeah, it would just be like a string of random like Microsoft Word and Excel sheets floating around emails, and it'd be a mess.
Yeah, and like for the price they charge for it, I think, what is it? We pay like $6 a month per user.
Yeah.
So for a small team, we're talking like $20 a month, and best $20 a month we spend every month.
It's so good. Yeah, we use it pretty exclusively too.
Yeah.
Let's see what else I use. I use Zoom is really good.
Hey, look, Zoom. That's where we're in now.
Yep. I use it for all, and my team is 100% remote, so we do all of our team meetings over Zoom. All client meetings are over Zoom. I like to do face to face that way. So that's a huge one.
Yeah, that's actually, it's really amazing to me that it's like one of the things that we went and got on the road a couple of years ago and started traveling, and I run an agency and have clients all over the country. And it's tools like Zoom that allow that to feel very natural, right?
Yeah.
Like I meet face to face with clients every day, and all of my clients know that I travel, so like it's cool. I can show them where we're at and what we're doing, and it's like we're across the table from each other, and they sort of get to enjoy our adventures as I help them build their businesses and stuff like that. And it's because of tools like Zoom that allows us to live the lifestyle that we live, but it also allows us to build this type of business. And I don't know, we a lot of times we'll take stuff like that for granted, but realize that like they didn't exist 5 years ago.
Dude, isn't that crazy? I just like when I sit and think about it, it blows my mind how much free or cheap tools exist that you can literally run a business. Like you can run an entire business for like $50 a month.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, in like tools expenses, like if you're not counting how much you pay employees and whatnot. But yeah, the amount of money we spend on tools on a monthly basis is ridiculously small.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you can with freemium models and with things that scale as you grow. Like we use AktiveCampaign a lot, and AktiveCampaign for my clients, it starts out at like $9 a month. And so like I'm telling them like you should get this tool, that tool, and the other tool, and they're like, oh, that sounds like a lot of stuff. I'm like, yeah, it comes up to like $30 a month. And they're like, oh.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and then we'll use tools like that and grow a revenue stream to 6 or 7 figures over the course of a year. And some of those tools, as you scale, they get more expensive. But like even still, like you're spending a couple $100 a month at the highest end for tools that are sustaining a 7-figure business, which is just ridiculous to me.
Yep. It's like, yeah, I like kind of a lot of the SaaS companies, how they do it, where as you get more users, or for like an email list or something, it scales how much you have to pay, but it's also your business is scaling at a more rapid rate. So like you don't feel it; it's just part of your business.
Yeah, it's just part of your business. And what's interesting about that is like I know because I've been doing this long enough to where businesses didn't do that, where it's like, man, I really need to have an automation system, and the automation system, it's $1,000, and you're like, I can't afford $1,000. I don't have any revenue, right? I can afford it for 1 month, plop it down, and then you're like, okay, I didn't make sales this month. That's it. Business is over.
Yeah.
But $9 a month you can afford for a while. Skip a couple of coffees now, and then you can pay for your business and scale it up and grow as you go. Anyways, I think that it's really interesting that a lot of these tools have just become so ubiquitous, like Google Drive and Zoom and things like it, AktiveCampaign, that you can grow a really big business in a lot of spaces. Everything from like we run information businesses all over the place. We got a physical product brands in several different spaces. You've got a physical product brand. The tool stack doesn't really change.
No. Yeah. Same stuff across everything.
Yeah. I was like, unless you're getting into some more specialized stuff, like if you're selling food at a restaurant, obviously you need a kitchen. But like, for a lot of the stuff that we're doing online, the same tool stack will help you do pretty much whatever you want, which I think is really fascinating.
Pretty powerful. Yep.
Are you tired of trying to write webinars that don't consistently convert? How would you like to have a webinar that effortlessly created sales in your online business? You can. Introducing the Webinar Alchemy Workshop. Webinar Alchemy Workshop is an online masterclass that will help you write incredibly persuasive webinars for your online courses quickly and easily. Using what you learn in this class, you can build a webinar that educates your entire audience while still creating sales. For a limited time, you can purchase this masterclass for only $7, and you'll get the exact framework I've personally used to help my clients sell more than $1 million worth of online coaching and training just over the last year. Simply text the word alchemy, ALCHEMY, to 444999, and I'll send you all the details.
The music is by Purple Planet Music. Visit www.purple-planet.com.
Okay, so move on a little bit in our conversation. Your own personal heroes, right? So we talked about this earlier. Frodo has Gandalf, Luke has Obi-Wan, Robert Kiyosaki had his rich dad. Who are some of your heroes? Were they real-life mentors? Were they speakers or authors? Were they peers that were just a few years ahead of you? And how important were they to what you've accomplished so far?
There have been a lot of people who have contributed to helping me get where I am right now. I'll highlight one that I think was probably most influential for me. He started off as just someone I was reading his stuff online and watched, I was reading his blogs and his email lists and then watching him do his business stuff and then eventually randomly met him, and now he's been a friend and mentor for about 4 years. But his name is Noah. Noah Kagan. He runs sumo.com and AppSumo.
Oh yeah, I know of him.
Yeah, he's such a good guy, and he I credit him a lot with getting me off the ground. And for I think I started following his work online around 2013, 2014, something like that. And I just admired the way he did things. I admired the way he was so conversational and the way he talked to his audience and the way he, when he's building these software companies and stuff, he really does a good job of including the customer on the features and asking them what they actually want instead of trying to do everything himself and then force it on people, hoping they're our customers.
Yeah.
I met a lot of lessons from him just from afar, and then I had a random chance at meeting him a couple years after I'd been following him, and then tried to not be a total creeper after meeting him and fangirl over him too much. But and then we were friends for a couple years, and then an opportunity came up to work together a little bit, and we did that. And then he invested a little bit in one of my first businesses, and ever since then, I still every single Monday for as long as I can remember, we have a little check-in. I send him an accountability list of what my goal is for the month for revenue, where we're currently at, and what we're working on to get there every Monday. And sometimes he'll respond, sometimes he gives me ideas, and sometimes it's just a thumbs up to be accountable to somebody. So he's been a huge part of it for me.
That's really awesome. And I think that there's actually some good points there for other people who are looking for mentors, that, mentors can provide accountability, and then that sometimes people who are, I don't know what the word for it is, but people who are, that we look up to as being more successful than we are, they're not unapproachable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that whole, what do you call it? That like game theory, that dating, the speed dating thing or whatever it is, where you go out and like you learn to pick up chicks or something like that. It's that 10 in the bar is the one who never gets approached because everyone thinks she's unapproachable.
Yeah.
A lot of people in business are like that. Like, he might be famous or be successful or something like that, but he's a normal guy like you or me, right? He's probably got a wife and a kid. He runs a business. Like, he's a normal guy. He eats and sleeps and poops like everyone else, right? And if you are a normal person to them, a lot of times they're like, I've met a number of mentors that way by just by just being normal to them and providing value, or and anyways, it's just my point is that not every, just because someone's more successful than you doesn't mean they're unapproachable. And obviously things like that can turn into long-term mentoring relationships that help you grow your business. So, don't be afraid to reach out and talk to the people that you admire.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And it's like, I think a lot of times people will, I like your point about being normal to them, because I think that's really important, because there's nothing weirder than getting like an email from someone who's like overly zealous or desperate.
Yeah.
Just like more than anything, you just get confused about what to do or how to help them because it's so like frazzled.
Yeah.
But like it's and I don't think I'm probably not in any position to be someone's mentor, but when people reach out to ask for help or advice on something, if they just mention like, hey, I heard or I listened to your podcast and I liked what you had to say about this. Here's my situation. Do you have any ideas? If not, that's fine too. Just something as simple as that, to where I know they have some kind of buy-in to my work, or they're just being normal and nice. It's a lot easier for me to take 10 minutes and write an email back and say, yeah, I've been in that situation before. Here's what I recommend, as opposed to someone overly like, you're the best person I've ever seen in my life, and I love you so much, and I've been stalking you for 8 years. Like, those are like a little bit much, but when someone can just be equally as approachable and just kind of make a human to human, no one's better than anyone else kind of connection, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. But like, I know one of the things that I've done pretty strategically in my business career is I've used that whole idea that other people are just normal people. And when you put work out into the world, you appreciate when other people appreciate it. So like I had a mentor of mine who had been, just like an online mentor for a number of years. And I wanted to get to a point where, he'd take my phone call at some point if I ever wanted him to. So I started buying all of his products that he put out and, on the side, just implementing them and getting results from them and just reporting back to his public groups. Like, hey, bought this product, did these things, got these results, did that for a number of years, until he reached out to me and he's like, you get results from everything I put out. It's like, I'd like to talk to you. Right. And fast forward a number of years, and I've done. He's been a client of mine. I've been a client of his for a number of years. If I picked up the phone and called him, he would answer it. Right. We've been out to dinner together. Right. He's met my family, that kind of thing. Like, because he's a normal person. He's a normal guy like you or me. And that's how these things are. That's how relationships are built. So anyways, I think it's an important thing to think about, especially if you're playing this entrepreneur game. Having someone who's farther down the line than you, right, is almost vital, right? Because it's a whole, like, you have to surround yourself with people who are going to push you a little bit, and that's not just going to happen, right? You're not just going to magically get surrounded by people who are farther along than you. You have to actually try and put yourself out there and attempt to build those relationships. Because that's what's going to help you grow your business.
Yep. And I think sometimes we can get lucky and get free help, but a lot of times the easiest way for access is to pay for it. Like you said, buy the products and report back, show a little bit of buy-in to get. It's just natural, a lot of people. I'm sure it's the same way for you. When people reach out to you about coaching them, you probably get a lot of people asking for help, a lot of inquiries. Like there's only so much time in a day and so much attention you have. It's easier for you to respond to someone who says, hey, I bought this thing from you, or hey, I left a review on iTunes for your podcast.
Whatever.
Something to where you can kind of give them it's not even it's not even a you have to earn it kind of thing. It's just literally a supply and demand of getting in front of somebody. And then being willing to it took me a long time to realize the benefit of actually paying for a business coach. And I wish I would have done it faster, because every time I've done it, I've gotten exponential results, and it's not always what, I feel like people a lot of times are looking for a savior when they hire a business coach, and they're looking for all their problems to be solved. That's not really how it works. It's more like you're getting perspective, and you're getting perspective from someone who has been where you're trying to get to, or they've been where you are now and where you're trying to get to, and so being able to get that just a little nugget of perspective sometimes is all it takes to really launch things. And
sometimes they're really little nuggets. One of my favorite stories at this point is actually, it's not a success story for me. It's sort of a success story, but it's kind of a success failure story. I had a client of mine who, back when I was not as confident in my abilities, so I didn't ask for money. He asked me to help him with a webinar, and I specialize in helping people write webinars that sell and do a really good job with that. And I charged him $500 to help him write his webinar and host his webinar and put all the sales messages together and all that kind of stuff. And then we promptly went around and sold $112,000 worth of information off of it. And we did it again 6 weeks later, and I charged him $500, and we made another $150,000. We did $250,000 in sales in 6 weeks. He paid me $1,000 for that, which I don't have a problem with that. That's what I asked him for, and he paid it. Right. But I realized pretty quickly that I was like, I need to do something different. And I went around and I hired a business coach for $6,000, right? $6,000. And it was like a 6-week training course with him. But essentially I learned one thing from it. And the one thing I learned was charge more. Yeah. Right. And it wasn't just a, charge more because you should charge more. It was charge more because you can deliver results that are commensurate with the charging of more money. But B, you can deliver a better experience, right? You can deliver faster, you can deliver more, a higher level of service to your customers if you charge more, and you'll be able to have funds to continue growing as well. And it was one of those it was such a small lesson that you feel like you'd be smart enough to pick up on that on your own, but sometimes you just need to pay someone else to kick you in the ass and be like, stop being stupid. Like, you know the answer, just do it.
It's literally that simple sometimes. I feel like I've been going through a marketing agency growth coach situation the past like 7 weeks now. It's like a 12-week program. I've been going through this with someone who's, already built a agency far beyond my size. And one of just some of the simplest little tweaks of like organizing my processes better so that my employees can work faster. Even that one little thing, we're able to chop off some percentages, and then we are able to free up more time to pick up new clients. And we doubled our monthly recurring within 4 weeks, literally just based on like, hey, get your processes better. And it's something, it's literally one of those things I was like, yeah, obviously I know that. But like having someone say, hey, do it, and I'm going to check with you next week if you did it. Yeah. Like having that little push makes sense.
That's a crazy thing too. Like there's a lot of power in that. Even just the process bit, right? So like I know a lot of businesses, I struggled with this for a number of years. I didn't have processes anywhere except in here. And it was a major bottleneck, and getting the processes out and onto paper was, and then getting them in front of other people to do those processes did a whole bunch of things for my business. One, I was able, I've 4x my business since I pulled process out of my head and put them on paper. But every time when you do that and you put it in front of someone else, then they go through it and you know exactly where they're falling down, right? And you can update them and fix them. And like sometimes small tweaks can change how much time you're spending to deliver something. And yeah, it really helps with scale. So yeah, that's off the topic of mentors and whatnot, but processes are so big and so cool. And it's something that I've been spending a lot of time in my business lately. Building processes.
It's tedious, but it helps so much.
Yeah. I have someone on staff now that's trained in process documentation. So I make 5-minute videos and they make process documents. Remind me to show you after we hop off. It's super cool.
That's smart. That's actually what I was biting my tongue, trying not to bring up anything more to get us more off topic, but I'll go down the rabbit hole there. But I was literally going to say a good hack is just literally screen recording yourself what you're doing while you're doing it, and then send it to somebody else to type it up.
And then turn it into processes for you. Absolutely. Changes the game completely. Okay, so back to topic. Well, on the last question here that I ask all of the everyone on the show is your guiding principles, right? So what are the top 1 or 2 principles or actions that you do every day today, or regularly at least, that have contributed to the success and influence that your businesses enjoy, and you wish you had known about them when you started out?
Oh, I can only pick 1 or 2. Okay, I have a lot. Let's see.
Okay, top 5 at least. No.
Top 5. All right. Okay, I could do top 5. Okay, one thing I do every day is I start the day off with something difficult that I don't want to do. And so for me, that's cold showers. And
I was not expecting that answer. I was expecting like make a list or something.
Yeah, no, it's far simpler than that. I literally I'll take a normal shower, but then I have there's kind of a little routine I go through with some breathing exercises, but that's kind of beside the main point. The last 3 minutes of the shower. So basically once I'm done, I flip it all the way cold, like painfully cold, literally as cold as it'll go. And then I focus my brain on not reacting to it. So something I repeat to myself, I say this in my head, to the cold water, I say, I acknowledge you, but I'm not going to react to you. And the reason I say that, so one thing I try to do is I actively try to think instead of thinking my body is so cold, I need to get out, I think I try to focus on the parts of my body that are not cold, because there's inevitably an arm sticking out or something. So I focus on I acknowledge you cold, but I'm not going to react to you. I'm not going to focus on you. And the reason I do that is to train my mind to not be afraid of difficult situations, and when they come, to not react negatively to them. So instead,
one of the other things that you may or may not know too is the delay between stimulus and response is what makes people masters at things. So if you can take a stimulus and the response that you have naturally to that, and you can separate that, you can learn to master that decision-making process. And when you master that decision-making process, you can bring those back together. That's how people become world champions at anything, right? Is they learn how to master the space between stimulus and response. And it seems like you're making that like a daily habit. You're training that muscle.
I guess so. That's really interesting. Yeah. It's funny you say that. Like, I think one thing I've been noticing is I almost need to find something harder now, because it's not hard for me anymore to do the cold part, because I already know, like, I've been through it hundreds of times. So I know it's not going to bother me. But it's something I try to just bake into my subconscious, that if there's something difficult, I can acknowledge that it's difficult, but it doesn't mean I have to react negatively to it. I can focus on something else, or focus on how to actually solve it instead of panicking.
That's interesting. I don't know if I have the guts to take a cold shower every day.
Not that bad. You should try it. And then, so that's one big one. I wish I would have known earlier, just not necessarily even the practice of the shower, but just of paying attention to how I'm reacting to things, and trying to kind of master my mindset over not being able to handle difficult situations with ease, I think is a really powerful.
Cool. So that's one.
That's one.
A few more.
Number 2 is solve the problem that's in front of you. That's something I also say to myself all day long, is if I'm like, and this goes back to me like having this overactive brain and thinking about 1,000 things. When I catch myself doing it, I try to bring myself back by saying, focus on solving the problem that's in front of you. It's just kind of a thing. It's a trigger to get back on track. And that's something I wish I would have focused on in the beginning too, instead of trying to solve problems that are 6 months down the road. Just focus on the one that's in front of me, and then eventually all the problems will be solved in the right order.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll try to keep this. I'll keep this to 3. I'll just pick another one. I think this is okay. I'll do two more. One is something a mentor gave me this advice one time, and it's just really good. Swim with the current instead of against it. I think a lot of times in entrepreneur land, we try so hard to make something work that's not working, or that might even work for someone else, but for whatever reason, in our exact unique situation, it's not working. And I've wasted a lot of time. I've closed businesses because of this one issue of trying to swim against the current instead of looking at what's working and how can I go with the flow better? How can I do more of what's working instead of fighting against that, trying to make something work that's not going to work.
That's a huge thing too. I've run into that with clients before. Like I have a client that I have now that one of the things she told me before we got on the had a client client relationship, was that like I do all this direct response stuff that everyone tells me I need to do, and then my market doesn't respond. Right? Like, so we do the webinars, we do the high pitch sales, we do the pitch stacking, we do all this stuff, right? We do all these things, and then my market doesn't respond. And so I was like, so let's instead of taking the tactics that you're doing, let's back it up a little bit and look at like, the psychology of why we're doing it doesn't change. Maybe we just need a different approach, and we like rebuilt some ideas, like how can we build some of the idea of like how we're building like and trust. And instead of using the tried and true, add to webinar or add to book or add to whatever the thing is, let's try something different and same type of principles and apply it in a different way. Instead of just, in her case, she was trying to fight the current, and her current was not going the same way that most markets do, and changed her business because of it. It's a really big thing to keep in mind.
It's hard when you see other people being successful with certain tactics, and you start like doubting yourself and your whole company, because you're like, why? Like, it's working for 99% of people, but for whatever reason, like, and you can't even solve it sometimes. Sometimes you don't even know why it's not working. But you'll spend so much energy trying to fix something.
And that was the discussion we had. She's like, I don't know how to fix it. And I was like, maybe we don't fix it. Maybe we just change gears.
Yeah. Simple nugget of perspective.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. So that's a big one.
One more.
last one is this is kind of more of a sentimental one, but just do what feels right to you is a guiding principle for me. Because I think a lot of times with entrepreneurship, there's a lot of FOMO, there's a lot of like shiny object syndrome happening, and sometimes we need to just take a step back and say does this business I'm trying to launch, or does this marketing tactic I'm trying to use, or this sales process I'm thinking of implementing, does it feel right to me? And just leaning into intuition a little bit, because we're all so unique and we all have different life experiences and life trajectories that to try to carbon copy everybody else never works. So just, I try to take a step back.
I call it the gut check.
Yeah. I didn't know this. I found this out recently that there are, I think it's 100 million neurons in our gut. And so that's kind of where listen to your gut came from. It actually does affect the way that our brains work. That's also like a health thing. If you have an unhealthy gut flora, it actually does impact your brain. So what we eat literally affects the way that we think, which affects our performance. So that's just another tip.
That makes sense.
But yeah, listening to your intuition, I think is a huge thing.
Cool. Those are some good principles. I'm glad we went on more than just one or two. So last thing I do, we do this every time. It's pretty simple. I call it the Hero Challenge. And the Hero Challenge is just this. Do you have someone in your network that you think has a really cool entrepreneurial story that we should invite onto the show and have them tell their story? Who is it, and why do you think they should come on the show?
Oh, that's good. I know a fair amount of people that I think have good stories.
Oh, he's pulling up a list. I can tell.
Pulling up a list because I know I want to make sure it's the right fit. There are a lot of people. A lot of people that I know who are successful entrepreneurs, but I think obviously, as you know, some people have more interesting stories than others. I have a friend named Aaron Waters, and I think he has a very good story. He's the CEO of a company called Lead Hub, and he's a good person, and I would love to connect you to him.
What does he do? Why do you think he should come on the show?
So he's the CEO of a marketing agency, but his entrepreneurial journey is very different from others that I've heard, in the sense that he never wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was not something that he planned on doing. And the way that his company got started is, his without going too far into the story, his wife, now is his girlfriend at the time, basically introduced him to someone that was starting a marketing agency, and they just had a random beer at a bar, and the guy offered him half the company on the spot. And so started his journey of literally dropping in the middle of being the CEO of this company and growing it to a $1 million plus agency. So
that sounds like a cool story. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's pretty much wraps up the podcast. So thank you so much for hopping on, Dustin, and talking with us. Last little bit is, where can people find you online? And the second part of that is, who would be a good fit? Like, if they're looking, if they've got problems that you can solve, where should they go? What kind of people are you looking for?
Yeah. In general, easiest places to find me are my website, which is just dustinlien.com, DUSTINLIEN.com. And you can sign up for the email list there, or hop into the podcast, see if you like the episodes. Also on Instagram, I'm fairly active. If you search my name, you'll find two different accounts. One is an old one that has a lot more followers, but is totally dead because I abandoned it. And the other one has less, but is the real me. So just a note there. And then as far as business-wise, if you have a consumer-facing product, your company's making at least six figures, That's the type of clientele that my agency works with. The consumer packaged goods in the health and fitness space, at least doing 6 figures a year. And for that, you can just go to jumpinfluence.com, and that's the easiest place to hook up there and see some of our client results and stuff like that. And then if you are someone who struggles currently with stress or anxiety, and I'm not talking like clinical anxiety, I'm talking generalized, like you feel anxious about things, you can check out thecodalife.com. That's the CODA, CODA life.com. And we have a supplement called Deep Breath that I think will really help you.
Awesome. Thank you. It's been super fun to talk to you, Dustin. I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard. I really enjoyed it.